My name is Clara Whitmore. I'm 34 years old, and until last winter, I believed the strongest thing in my marriage was trust. My husband, Ryan Whitmore, and I lived in a small town near Cincinnati, Ohio. We didn't have a large house, expensive vacations, or perfect lives. We worked hard, paid our bills, and spent most evenings cooking dinner together while arguing about what movie to watch. There was one thing in our home that mattered to me more than anything else. It was my father's old silver pocket watch. The watch wasn't valuable. The chain was tarnished, the case was scratched, and it stopped working years ago. But my father carried it every day of his life. When I graduated from college, he placed it in my hand and said, "When you miss me, hold this and remember that time is the only thing we can never get back." 3 years later, cancer took him away from us. Since then, I kept the watch inside a velvet-lined wooden box on the top shelf of my closet. Every Sunday morning, I opened the box and spent a few quiet minutes remembering him. Ryan knew exactly what that watch meant to me. Early in our marriage, he once found me crying while holding it. He wrapped his arms around me and promised, "I'll always help you keep this safe." I believed him completely. Then life became difficult. Ryan's company cut his overtime hours, and the dental office where I worked reduced employee bonuses. Our savings disappeared faster than we expected. The car needed repairs, the water heater broke, and credit card bills piled up on the kitchen counter. We stopped eating out and canceled every unnecessary expense, but it still felt like we were falling behind. One rainy Saturday afternoon, while Ryan was out buying groceries, I decided to clean the closet. I smiled when I saw the little wooden box. Without thinking, I carried it to the bed and opened the lid. The blue velvet lining was there. The watch was not. I searched the closet, the dresser, the bathroom, and every drawer in the house. My hands shook so badly that I dropped a stack of old photographs onto the floor. When the garage door finally opened, I ran into the kitchen. "Ryan," I whispered, "where is my father's watch?" He froze with the grocery bags still in his hands. "I was going to tell you," he said quietly. A cold feeling spread through my chest. "Tell me what?" He lowered his eyes. "I sold it." For a second, I thought I had heard him wrong. "You promised you'd protect it," I said. "I know. Why?" His voice trembled. "The mortgage was late. The electric company sent a final notice." I panicked. I could barely breathe. "So you sold the last thing my father ever gave me? I thought once the bills were paid, you'd understand." I laughed through my tears. "You never even asked me." Finally, I whispered, "How much?" $400. I grabbed my keys. "Where is it?" "At a pawn shop downtown." We drove there through the pouring rain without saying a word. I rushed inside and described the watch to the owner. He nodded slowly. "I remember it," he said. Hope filled my chest. "Please tell me it's still here." The owner sighed. "I'm sorry. It was sold this morning." My knees nearly gave out beneath me. The last piece of my father that I could still hold in my hands was gone, and I had no idea if I would ever see it again. I stood there in the pawn shop, trying not to cry. The owner looked uncomfortable. Then he said, "I can't give you the buyer's address, but I can call him and explain the situation." It wasn't much, but it was enough to give me hope. I left my phone number and waited. 3 days later, an unknown number appeared on my screen. "My name is Walter Reeves," the man said. "I believe I have your father's watch." The next morning, I met him at a small cafe. He was an elderly man with kind eyes and a gentle smile. A leather case rested beside his coffee. Before opening it, he asked me to tell him about my father. I told him everything. How Dad fixed cars with grease-covered hands. How he never missed my school plays. How he carried that watch every single day. By the time I finished, tears were running down my face. Walter quietly listened. Then he showed me a photograph of a young woman standing beside him. "My daughter," he said softly. "I lost her 7 years ago." He opened the leather case. Inside was my father's silver pocket watch. I reached for my purse. "Please let me pay you." Walter shook his head. "No. Some things belong with the people who love them." I held the watch carefully in my hands. For the first time in years, I felt close to my father again. When I returned home, Ryan was waiting on the porch. His eyes filled with tears when he saw the watch. "You got it back," he whispered. I nodded. A stranger showed me more kindness than my own husband. He looked down. "You're right." That night, he gave me a letter. He admitted he had been ashamed of our financial problems and had tried to fix everything alone. Instead, he had broken the trust between us. He didn't ask me to forgive him. He only promised that he would never hide another important decision from me again. The next day, I noticed his motorcycle was gone. "I sold it," he said. "I used the money to pay down our debt." Over the following months, we worked through every bill together. No more secrets. No more pretending that one person had to carry the whole burden. Ryan took extra shifts, and I picked up additional hours at the clinic. Slowly, life became manageable again. One Sunday morning, I placed my father's watch back into its wooden box. Ryan sat beside me and said, "Your dad left you more than a watch. He left you a lesson." I smiled through my tears. "Time is precious." He nodded. "And so is trust. Once it's lost, you have to earn it back one honest choice at a time." I closed the lid gently and looked out the window. I still missed my father every day, but I finally understood what he had meant all those years ago. Time moves quickly. We cannot waste it hiding the truth from the people we love. The watch was never valuable because it was made of silver. It was valuable because it carried a lifetime of love, and that was something no pawn shop could ever put a price on.